What's up, Thomas nerds? It's Trackmaster Tomi. So I've received many nice comments about my custom Bear and SPAMCAN that were featured in my adaptation of Super Rescue. So today, I thought I would show you how I made them. Though they might look pretty simple, a lot of work actually went into them. Especially SPAMCAN, but we'll get to that soon. Let's start with Bear since he was the first one made. Bear started off as a 3D printed shell that I got off eBay. I also got Daisy, but I haven't customized her yet. When he arrived, I soon began to work on him. The first step was sanding the rough parts like the front end and roof. It definitely isn't perfect on the front, but I think the roof came out really good. I used 60 and 100 grit sandpaper to get rid of the print lines and 2000 grit sandpaper to make it super smooth. Then he was painted in a white undercoat so the paint would apply better and be more even. I then painted his body in dark green, gave him black frames, painted his roof dark grey, painted his front and back yellow, and painted his buffer beams red. With my current customs, I tried to make them in the style of the original Playrail and Hit Toys Trackmaster lines, so I left the indent where the switch is green and left his face grey, but we'll get to that soon. The next step was painting his grills and windows. These were done with a black Posca paint pen, and the lining around the windows was done with a white Posca paint pen. I also added a touch of silver to his handrails to make them pop out a bit more, also using a Posca paint pen. I also added the green stripe between his body and frames since it's there in the books and makes him stand out a bit more. Then came his face. I was originally going to just order a Bandai Tex Toad and use its face for Bear, but then I found my super old and destroyed Dennis and decided to use that instead. I cleaned its face off with rubbing alcohol and repainted its eyes, eyebrows, and mouth. I tried to differentiate it from my normal Dennis by giving it different eyebrows, a white mouth, and forward-facing eyes. The face proved to be too tall, so I sanded the top down until it fit. Then came his stickers. I made his D3 number stickers myself, printed them off, and cut them out. Tip: when printing out stickers, always paint the sides of them so none of the white from the paper is showing. It makes them look a lot better. Then they were glued on with super glue, which I would not recommend. Just use white glue. It's way easier to move and position them into the right spot. Then he stayed like this for about a month until I put a semi-gloss clear coat on both him and SPAMCAN. I really love how this new Bear came out. It's definitely an improvement from my old one featured in the Dudley saga. All of his colors and details look really good, and I'm super happy with his face. I think it really fits his character in the books. It was really nice to use him in Super Rescue, and I can't wait to feature him in more videos moving forward. Now, let's move on to the harder of the two customs, SPAMCAN. SPAMCAN gave me lots of trouble, just like in the story. He was made from my original custom of him from 2023, which used a Hit Toys Diesel 10 as a base. This custom was completely stripped, lightly sanded, and gaps were filled with clay. I then took the buffers off an old Percy, sanded them, and glued them on. He was then painted in a white undercoat. I then began to paint him in a dark blue, which was loosely based off some BR Deltics, also why I kept only 2 front windows. Then he was given a few more coats of blue, and given black frames. I then painted his roof grey, his front and back yellow, and his buffer beams red. I also added a light blue stripe to match Bear's livery. His face was put on, which was a Hit Toys Rocky face at the time, and he was super close to being complete. You know, until I decided to completely restart him. I just wasn't happy with how he was coming out. His paint was too dark, the windows and roof were bugging me, and it overall just didn't feel like SPAMCAN to me. So, I completely stripped him once again and had to start from scratch. I completely sanded the roof flat, molded his 3 front windows with clay, and repeated the exact process I had done before, but with a lighter blue paint instead. His grills were also painted with a black Posca paint pen, and his handrails were done in silver. Then I made his BR logo and number stickers, printed them, painted the sides, and glued them on. Then, him and Bear were given a semi-gloss clear coat, and they were finally done. Except, they weren't, because I still was unhappy with SPAMCAN's face. It was just too small and didn't look right. I'm a big fan of the wooden railway D199, so I wanted to find something that was a bit similar to its face for my custom. So, I took an old beaten up Scruff's face, cleaned it, heavily sanded it, and repainted it. Now his face was a proper size and fit the character much better. I also added some little silver dots to his front to simulate his lights, and painted the details on his backside. And finally, Bear and SPAMCAN were now 100% complete. Actually this time. Although it was a lot of effort, I'm glad that I restarted SPAMCAN because I really like how he looks now. It feels much more true to the character, and worked great in Super Rescue. I'm really glad that I went with the fictional TV series style for them, because they fit in really well with my other Trackmaster and Playrail engines. Now, I think it's time that we give these two a run with some rolling stock.